Yeah, that looks it.
Hello, everyone. It's a nice, beautiful, sunny day. I think the last of the ice seems to be melting finally. um, all right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Vanessa. I'm with the Dallas Public Library, and we host this Grow With Us series in conjunction with the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability. And we're so happy you can join us today. Again, like I said, it's a beautiful day. So it's a great day to talk about love and the things we love and how we can share that love in a green and sustainable way. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Judy to so actually Judy and Nedra from OEQS will be our presenters for today. So I will let her introduce herself and introduce Nedra and let y'all know what we're talking about today. And feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat if you have your own suggestions. Your video and your audio will be turned off for the program, but like I said, you can just put them in the chat and we'll get to those as they pop up. All right, thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you, Vanessa and Jordan. As always, we're so proud and happy to be here with the Dallas Public Library. It's just exciting for us to have this opportunity to talk to all of you. Thank you for being here with us today. And I want to introduce my colleague, Nedra Richard Morgan. She and I will be tag teaming on this. Actually, I'm going to do the front portion of the presentation, and she's going to take over midway through and take us through the rest of it to teach us, quite a bit about being more green during this really red and pink and romantic and loving holiday that's coming up, Valentine's Day. But I think that Mother Nature has spoken again, especially throughout the country and around here. I know at my house, there's still a lot of ice. So in the shaded areas and where I have hard surface. So it's been an interesting experience the past couple of days. What I want to do is really to introduce more of what Nedra and I do with the City of Dallas and the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability, and just go through a little more formal introduction today, and then I'll switch to the program. And which, as I say, what you're going to hear about is we're going to add that splash of green in your Valentine's Day for this year, and hopefully we've given you time to think about it and get that incorporated. So Jordan, thank you for running the slides for us, and I'm ready for the next slide. So, our team, I just like to say that what we are is enthusiastically empowering Dallas to save the earth. And I know that's a huge statement, but that's what we do every day. That's what Nedra focuses on with all the education and the teaching and the programs that she manages. And the same for me. We want to reach out to each and every person within our hearing network and encourage you to think of ways to listen a little more carefully to the earth and do everything we can to take care of it. Next slide, please. So this office was actually formed in 2004, and then it went through some different iterations. And one of the things that the office is very proud of is our ISO 1400 certification for our environmental management system. And we were one of the first, or we were the first U.S. city to actually achieve this within a municipality setting. So it's something we're very proud of, and we'd like to keep honoring that. And we do have a team focused on that. We also, in 2018, we expanded this office, the whole department, and we went from about 50 or so people, 50, 60 people to over 100. And we took on a lot of different departments, and you'll see what those divisions, and you'll see what those are here in just a moment. And something else we're very proud of is that under the current organization with Mayor Eric Johnson, he actually established the first city council committee that's focused on the environment. So it's the Environment and State Sustainability Committee, and we're very proud of that. And if you get a chance to tune in to those meetings from time to time, please do it. You can go out to dallascityhall.com, look at the calendar, and it'll give you the times when these meetings will occur. And then also something we're proud of is in 2020, so it's now been almost 2 years ago, but the City Council unanimously adopted the Comprehensive Environmental and Climate Action Plan. And this is such a valuable plan for the city because it's so collaborative. It's not just something we're doing in our department. We work with 17 other departments across the city. We also are working with outside partners to achieve all these different action steps. And so the comprehensive plan has 8 focus areas, and out of those focus areas, there's 97 major elements, if you will, under those split between those focus areas. And just for this year alone, there's over 200 actual actions that are in place among all the different departments and the partners working on this. So tune in April, because we hope to have an update right at the beginning of April to teach you more about it. Next slide, please. So here you see the different divisions, the main divisions between the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability. So we like to say it's everything from A to Z, because it's pretty obvious. It starts with air pollution, it ends with zero waste. But you see here, we have the air pollution and the air quality team. And so what I like to say to describe what they do, one of the things they do is that 365 days a year, so even in the ice, they somehow manage to get out and read the air monitors, that the official air monitors that are established and located around the city. And then when you get later on in the summer, you'll start getting these ozone action alerts. And that comes from those readings. So we work with government organizations to provide this information and then help inform all the public about the air quality within Dallas. We also have that environmental management system that I mentioned about. We have a spill response team that goes out. That's through the Stormwater Compliance Division. Whenever there's some kind of used oil or some other toxic material that might get spilled, they help out with that. We have stormwater management. And so there's kind of 2 parts to that. There's the compliance part, and there's also the outreach and education that we are under. And we have a lot to do with the stormwater, as far as we do the major part of the outreach, reaching out to all the public within the city of Dallas. We have urban agriculture, water conservation, which you'll hear more about some of those programs in a minute, and then zero waste. Next slide, please. So I mentioned stormwater, and this is a perfect time to talk about it, because typically in Dallas, we don't have snow melt or ice melt, but we certainly are having it right now. I know I'm having it at my house. As I say, I had about 3 inches or more of ice on my back drive and across the back of the house. So it's still melting today. I was able to chip a little path through there. But the reason this is so important is because the city of Dallas is permitted with an MS4 permit to release our rainwater and our urban runoff into the Trinity River, into all the lakes and the creeks and the streams, and they ultimately, feed into the Trinity River. And so how does this all work? Well, there's a separate system that conveys this water. And stormwater is rainwater. Right now it's this ice and snow that's melting off of around our houses and the businesses throughout the city, the metropolitan area. It also can be if your sprinkler systems are not aiming toward your lawn, but somehow end up getting broken and are spraying water into the street, then that becomes stormwater runoff because it's going into those storm drains where it's being collected. And, also if you leave a hose running, your phone's ringing, you leave the hose running somewhere and it ends up, again, overflowing out of your yard, over the sidewalk, into the street, into the storm drains. So all of that is the stormwater runoff, the urban runoff. And we try to collect it as clean as possible. So I know that for me, I have a 90-pound German Shepherd, and before the snow hit, I made sure the yard was clean of all of her poo. I got that all cleaned up before the rains came in Wednesday and everything. And of course, we woke up Thursday morning and it was a winter wonderland. So, I've had to get out there in my snowshoes and clean it up again. But the reason I mention it is because anything left like that, the paper, the small bits of paper, the waste, any kind of pollution, anything you might have put on the yard before all this rain, it runs off and it goes into the storm drains and it can pollute the water. And again, the reason this is so important is because the water ends up in the Trinity. And once the Trinity River and those waters leave the city of Dallas, over 50% of all the people and the wildlife and the livestock are getting their water from the Trinity River. It's going through a processing plant, of course it is, but to become palpable water. But still, that water, the cleaner it can leave this area, just the better it is for the folks on downstream, and also for the water that makes it all the way down to Galveston Bay. So I really encourage everyone to talk about stormwater, rainwater, learn about it, and figure out what you can do to make it that water enter the storm drains as clean as possible. And if you see some neighbors or other businesses, you think that maybe they're not handling correctly, maybe talk to them, or you can always report to 311 and let them know that you think someone is kind of abusing the storm drains, if they're using it as a trash can or that type of thing. So next slide, please. So we talk about the stormwater. We talk about a lot of things. And basically, I don't even go through all this because we'll talk to anybody. If you're an HOA, if you're education K through college, seminars, activities, we like to talk about the environment and all elements of it, all the things you've seen before. And next slide, please. And so just invite us to come talk to you if you want us to. We also help through this division. The department hosts major events such as Clean Air Action Day, Waterwise Landscape Tour, which is in its 28th year. We hope to have a youth climate symposium. We're having a climate symposium. So there's all kinds of things coming up. So be on the watch for that. And those are always public events, free to everyone. So we hope you're able to participate. Again, here's the topics. And as I say, we like to talk. So invite us and we'll be glad to attend. Next slide, please. And here's how you reach us. So follow us on our social media, send us an email at greendallas@dallascityhall.com. And there's somebody always there to reach out to you. And thank you so much. And now we're going to go on to the Green Valentine program.
Oh, did we lose Nedra?
No, I am actually going to start. So
okay.
As soon as Jordan gets it up.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll be handling the first couple of slides and then we'll go from there. So you know what? We're tossing out traditions this Valentine's, and we're going to add any color of green you want to, but we want you to think about how you can make it a green Valentine. Next slide, please. So we know it's still the pandemic, and so there's some things that I think you need to back it up just one. Yeah. So there's still some things that we can do. We want to save money. We want to conserve resources all the time. We want to get outdoors. I mean, it's so important. I'm watching the Olympics and I see these background shots of all the people outdoors, just all ages, skiing, ice skating. There's just really looks like the people in China get outdoors a lot. So we want to encourage people to get outdoors, shop locally, and also, do it yourself. It's a great value added activity you can do with your family, with your friends, with people of all ages when you get involved in doing it yourself and figuring out how to save those resources and some money too. Next slide, please. All right. So we right now the stores are full of beautiful things that have cards and all kinds of other things that are referring to Valentine's Day. The glitter, the foil, the lace, the stickers, none of it's recyclable. So I have a card here. I don't know if I can show you, but it has this beautiful gold foil lining. I thought this would be okay. I bought it, but there's a little bit of foil on the front. I don't know if you can see it. The inside is very simple. It just says, I love you. It's all nice paper, but I'm still not going to be able to recycle this because of the touches of foil. So it's something that we want to keep in mind. We use the example all the time of a pizza box. If the pizza box doesn't have grease on the top, you can tear that top off and recycle it. But of course, the bottom that's had the pizza laying in it, that has to be thrown in the regular trash. But when you go out and look for these things, think about this, because even with a little bit of foil, you're not going to be able to recycle it because we don't recycle foil. But you can, next slide, please. There's all these beautiful things, but you can make your own. It's so really easy to use paper and do all kinds of cutouts. You can use non-toxic glues, and you can use cloth ribbon, raffia, and still make something really pretty. Stack your elements, just really have fun making your own recyclable or compostable card or a bookmark. And as I say, it's a neat thing to do with your family as well. So next slide, please. So there's e-cards, and we really like that. And there's all, the e-cards, really, there's all different styles that you can send out, even to, your best friend, your Galentine, family members, your friends, of course, your favorite honey. And next slide, please. And there's all kinds of sites where you can get these. And this one I think is really fun. If you want to kind of really take on adding green, you can go out to Take Care of Texas, and they have these little e-cards that you can actually send out that have an environmental message as well. And I think that's really sweet, and it's something that you can add. So next slide, please. So we saw that our friends at the library are actually helping kids make Valentine's Day cards. So if you want to do that, you've got until the 12th. And so we encourage this. And here you see kids ages 6 to 11 can create a free handmade card, a heart bouquet card, and at the Eric Johnson Central Library. So Vanessa, do you have anything you want to say about that real quick, or?
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you just stop by the second floor with the kids, they can make cards there. Some of the other branches are also having Valentine's cards making kits as well. So I'll try to find a link that will include all of them for you and put that in the chat in just a moment. But I also put a link in for how to make your own seed paper, which I think is a great way to bring the plants. Spread the plant love is make some seed paper. You can actually buy some ready-made ones, but I think making it is kind of fun too. And the link suggests some different seeds that work really well for this. So I like the idea of the poppy seeds because right now is a good time to plant those. Yeah, they like the cold weather. So yeah, I'll find a link and put it in so you can see all the different places you can go and make Valentine's.
Thank you. And so now let's move on, and we're talking about the romantic rose. And yes, the rose is so romantic. It's so beautiful. Everybody wants to get them. And what I'm thinking is we all need to start growing them in our own gardens so that we don't have to have them imported in. But, what really causes kind of the carbon emission problems with roses is because they have to be kept in refrigerated trucks, and those trucks actually give out a lot of greater carbon emissions, much greater than non-refrigerated trucks of the same type. And 25%, they actually take more, use 25% more fuel also than non-refrigerated trucks. So just bringing them in, first of all, most of them are grown in other parts of the world, and then they're having to be air freighted in, and then after that they have to be kept cold to keep them from opening up and until they get to our home. So they're delightful. And go to the next slide. And giving of roses, they think, dates back to actually a king in Sweden. So it's quite an old tradition. And of course, roses, red roses just mean love more than anything that you can give somebody. But the other thing we really want to encourage is a potted plant. So go to your local nursery. You can also go to the Bishop Hill Flower Farm. They have bouquets. They have dried bouquets. They also farm their own flowers here locally. And so it's a really great place. And they have every fourth Saturday, they actually are at the Capel Farmers Market. So it's someplace that you could go this weekend and see what they've got to offer. It might be dried flowers, and there may be some flowers. I don't know if anything made it through this cold. I doubt it. But what's the next slide, please? So here's just some examples of some flowers that last a long time. And I will tell you that this Physalium that you see down here, the peace lily, I have one that's 24 years old. So I got it when it was rather small, and it's been nurtured and cared for. It's pretty good size now, and it blooms all the time. Right now, it has 2 blooms on it. So you can actually learn how to take care of these potted plants as long as you regularly switch out the soil and follow the watering guidelines for each specific variety. They can last a long time. And as I say, the one I have is 24 years old. Next slide, please. So I really encourage you to go out and see what's going on at the florists, at the community gardens. We also have the Texas Discovery Garden, which I think they have a plant sale coming up probably in March or April. So it's not going to really fit with Valentine, but it's something you can think about adding to your home by going there and helping support them. Consider the medicinal plants like the aloe vera and the herbs, the rosemary bushes, and easy care, cactus, of course, and succulents. So just have to know a little bit about how to take care of them. And if you watch this program, you'll learn some of that as well. So next slide, please. So poppy flowers home kit. So I know this is probably going to be flowers that have been brought in, but we still think this is a cool idea. Just the concept of ordering your own flowers and bringing them to the house rather than buying the arrangements with the vases. Take a vase you already have or some kind of container, and get with your sweetheart and arrange the flowers, put them around the house, have a really nice relaxing experience, and enjoy that. You see here this link to this poppyflowers.com where you can order them, and they just send them to your house, and you can select the ones that you want. So it's just a beautiful, relaxing experience that you can have at home without getting out, which does save emissions because you're not taking the car and going out, and also doing maybe buying something that has foil or something on it, or getting another vase that you just don't need because you already have something that you can use at the house. So reusing an element is always important. Next slide, please. So chocolates, we know that chocolates are definitely part of Valentine's Day. Cocoa farming mostly happens in West Africa. And what we really want to encourage is that you try to buy, because planting more trees, there's just a lot of issues around growing the cocoa farming, and using the child labor. And so we want we're looking for non-conflict chocolate. We don't want to encourage child labor anywhere in the world. And so we encourage you to try to find chocolate that hasn't been sourced in this way. So we want more fair. Next slide, please. So the fair trade chocolate is so important for you to look for. And you can even find it at Kroger if you just look, on the labels. And one of the places you can go, well, I think we have it up in the next slide, but we just go on and go to the next slide, Jordan. So one of the places you can go to learn about fair trade chocolates and sourcing it more with sustainable packaging in a more sustainable way and without child labor is to go to hivebrands.com. They specialize. They're an online sourcing. They're a grocer. They're an online grocer, but they're trying to source everything from companies and organizations that are sustainable, that are following sustainable guidelines. So That's one of the places you can get it. You can also see here some of the other areas here in the other places here in Dallas, the Dude Sweet Chocolate, Kate Weiser, Chocolate Secrets, and Coco Andre is actually, I have a little bit information about that. Just a second. It is actually a Mexican-American family that owns this chocolate shop in Oak Cliff. So there's places you can go to get this chocolate that's been more sustainably sourced. And then it's so easy to do your own chocolate dip strawberries or whatever you might like. You see here a little quick recipe. It just takes 30 seconds or so to melt that chocolate and then dip whatever you'd like in it, whether it's dried fruit or fresh fruit. It just makes a really pretty display. So we encourage you to really be careful about your chocolate that you buy. Next slide, please. So we know fancy dinners are also part of Valentine's Day. So we're really say no to the straws, say no to styrofoam. It may seem really geeky, but bring your own container if you think you're going to have leftovers and you think that where you're going might be offering you a styrofoam container. And, find out a little bit more about them. So next slide, please. Oh, did I jump? Let me see. I jumped. So you see here some names of restaurants around town. Actually, Full City Rooster, for example, has a green business certification, and Mix It at Garden Cafe does also. So there are places around town that have green business certifications. That means they're trying to do all these things. They try to take care of their food waste and not just send it to the landfill. They're trying to either compost it or send it to an organization that can reuse it, not use styrofoam, not use straws, use fair trade ingredients, things that have been produced without child labor. So they're trying to do all these things. So here you see some examples of them. If you just want to get out. So because, girls do like to have their guys take them out to eat. And so here you got a list of some of the things you can do. Next, please. So wine and dine at home. You hear this from the holiday too, but it's true for Valentine's Day. Go on and set that table with your china and your silver, your glassware, use your table linens, bring it all out. Okay, maybe it needs to be ironed and you don't want to. You know what? Don't iron it. Try to just put it on the table wrinkled. See if you can select organic foods and wines from the store, and then you can even have the family all hang out together and maybe cook and make heart-shaped cookies, fancy cupcakes with paper decor. There's all kinds of things you can do. And then at the end of all of it, it's just a bonus note here, is that be sure you can go to the Dallas Farmers Market and refill your lotions and your soaps and your other toiletries, but check on that because it is the pandemic. So we want to make sure that all that's being, that you are being, careful with all of that. But now I'm going to hand it over to Nedra, and she's going to talk to you. She's going to start talking to you about Dressed to Impress. She's going to continue. And so if you're wining and dining at home, you also want to dress to impress. And so here's some tips and techniques on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Judy. So this was really great information that you provided, but I just want to talk about, like Judy just mentioned, what are some things that how can we dress? And I guess more so the planning for our great Valentine's Day. So Jordan, if you can advance to the next slide. So we're always thinking about what we're going to wear for Valentine's Day. So when we are thinking about having a green Valentine's Day, fashion is the second largest polluter in the world. The manufacturing, care, and disposal of clothing uses billions of tons of energy and billions of gallons of water every year. And sadly, about 3/5 of all clothing end up in the landfill within 1 year of being made. Next slide. So the apparel industry has a huge impact on the environment. For this Valentine's Day, select an outfit or an item that hasn't been worn in a while, or if there isn't anything to choose from, try the Goodwill Challenge by patronizing your local Goodwill store. There are also several thrift shops to choose from. if you decide to go out, just keep in mind that we're still dealing with COVID. And so we want to encourage you to follow COVID guidelines and also wash the clothes before you wear them. Next slide. So if you're still not sold on resale, let's review some facts about the fashion industry. The average consumer buys 60% more garments compared to 15 years ago, and yet we are keeping half as long. And that can be for various reasons. 20% of global wastewater is produced by the fashion industry. The apparel industry is said to be responsible for the use of insecticide and a pesticide, as well as 20,000 liters of water it takes to produce 1 kilogram of cotton that is a single shirt and a pair of jeans. So we don't think about clothing production being the water waste it is. Next slide. So while you are planning your Valentine's Day event, think of some places to visit that's here in Dallas and offers a beautiful scenery and is outside of the normal Valentine's dinner. Next slide. So you can travel to the North Park Center to see the beautiful floral displays. It's free to enjoy and offers a beautiful background for your Valentine photos. The hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday, which is the day before Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day falls on a Monday. So the hours would be from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Next slide. You can also visit the Texas Discovery Garden at the Fair Park. Texas Discovery Garden is open Wednesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can discover a natural oasis at their 7.5-acre organic garden that features native and adaptive plants. Also visit their 2-story inspired tropical rainforest with the hundreds of free-flying tropical butterflies. There is love amongst the butterflies. Next slide. So while you are there, you can also skip over to the Big Tex Urban Farms to view their unique way of growing produce. Next slide. Books, Library Lovers Day, February the 14th. For the lovers who love books, this is your day. Next slide. So Valentine's Day is Library Lovers Day. On this day, we celebrate the valuable role that libraries play. Remember to visit your local library. They are just waiting to see you. Next slide. So your local library offers books and classes on crafts and do-it-yourself that incorporate sustainability. Valentine's Day is a great time to be creative and to reuse, regift, as well as recycle. So there are 30 library locations around the city of Dallas, and they're just waiting to see you. Next slide. So we know Texas weather can be a little unpredictable. However, this week leading up to Valentine's Day is expected to be nice. So get you some air. You can advance to the next slide. So spend your day in the outdoors enjoying nature. You can visit the local Trinity River Audubon Center to bird watch or register for one of their guided nature hikes and other wildlife walks at this 120-acre restorative center. Let's see if love is indeed in the air. Next slide. So if love is in the air, maybe volunteering together would be a great date out. You can volunteer with an organization. For the Love of the Lake at the White Rock Lake will be having their shore cleanup this Saturday. While you're in the area, you can visit the Dallas Arboretum to see the Dallas blooms. This year's theme for the Dallas blooms is called Birds of Paradise. As you can see here, the admissions is from $12 to $20, and it's running from February the 19th to April the 10th. Next slide. Oh, okay. So the city of Dallas has 390 city parks to visit. You can enjoy a walk in the park or host a family cookout for the entire family. Just remember, leave no trace. Take all your trash so it won't be scattered and become litter that can potentially enter our waterways. Next slide. Or you can serenade your sweetheart. Serenade your sweetheart by attending a local theater and music hall, or look up a local run and sign up for the hot chocolate run at the Fair Park this Saturday. There are Dallas restaurants. I'm sorry if you jump back. Yeah, thank you. So there's Dallas restaurants that have lots to offer, such as heart-shaped pancakes at Over Easy. You can visit them at 1914 Commerce Street. As well as you can do a Valentine's run at the Hot Chocolate, which is a 15K, 5K, and it will be held at the Fair Park this Saturday, February the 12th. And you can advance the slide. So if you're still not ready to get out just yet, here are a few COVID-friendly dates, which I most enjoy. So you can visit a local drive-in movie theater. You don't have to leave your car. You can stay snuggled up. If you stay in, you can sign up for an online sip and stream paint event. And they also have more events online that you can do with your loved one while being in the comfort of your home. Or you can just Netflix all day, binge watch, as well as just sit back and chill and just enjoy a nice day or evening in. Next slide. Oh, our furry babies. So if you are in puppy love and don't have plans for anything else, the Dallas Animal Shelter could use you to help walk and socialize with the dogs. Pets are free to adopt for the month of February, so they will welcome you out this weekend and for the entire month of February. Next slide. And so also just to remember, do it yourself never dies when it's done from the heart. And the next slide. And so that will conclude the presentation. We want to thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, we will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Nedra. Yeah, there was one question about the card foil not being recyclable, and I actually didn't know that. So I looked it up and I put it in the chat, but it turns out that that's actually not real metal foil. It's a form of nylon, so that's why it's not recyclable. So there's the question about that.
Okay.
All right, who else has some questions? These are all really great ideas. I tried to keep up and put all of the links in the chat so everyone could see.
I saw that you were doing really well with that. Thank you.
Dusting off my reference desk skills there. But yeah, there's tons of things here to do in Dallas. Like you said, tons of things to do outside. You know, one of the fun things that people don't know about, we were talking about the Trinity Audubon Center. There's actually also just trails you can walk around the Trinity Forest, and that's the largest urban hardwood forest in the US. So I think it's a really cool fact that we have out here in Dallas, and that people can go out and walk among that. Is there any way we can send ourselves a link, Anna? I have copied all the links, and I will send those in a follow-up email for y'all, Anna. And Nedra and Judy, would it be okay for y'all to share the slideshow so I can send that out as well?
Oh yes, that would be great. We can share those.
All right, awesome. Yeah, there's such pretty slides. Y'all did an awesome job on those. Does anyone have their own tips of things that they like to do around Dallas that they think other people might enjoy? You can put those in the chat. Something maybe we didn't think about here yet. A way to get outdoors. And yeah, plants are always a live plant is always a good present, as long as what I like to do. If I give someone a plant, I like to give them information about how to care for the plant too, because that can be really intimidating for people who maybe have killed a plant or two.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to necessarily give them a plant that might, not make it. So air plants are really cool things. Oh no, Judy, could you unmute Judy, please? Jordan. Um, yes, yeah. Oh, as soon as you get unmuted, Judy, if you can tell your plant's name. Yeah, I have a pothos ivy that I've had since college, so it's probably a good 20 years old now too. And a cool thing about ivy plants is it's really easy to take a cutting, stick it in water, and grow a new ivy plant from it. So I've given away many babies from my plant to other people. And plus, like I mentioned in the chat, like the peace lilies like Judy has, and the ivies, they will filter pollutants from the air too. They won't just give you oxygen, but they actually help filter your air. So what's
Yeah.
your plant's name, Judy?
His name is Pete.
Pete the peace ivy.
Pete the peace lily. And my brother got married this past last summer. And so we have a zebra aloe vera that, is just from the original one. There's all kinds of babies. And so that's what we actually made, like, I don't know how many. We took just any kind of little jar and thing that, we started collecting them prior to the wedding. And it probably sounds like it wasn't pretty, but it actually turned out to be really pretty. And we, of course, decorated the jars with, raffia and with actual cloth ribbon. And then also, anyway, we just made for each person, they had the option of taking a little plant home if they wanted to. And we actually grew them here at the house. They came from this original zebra aloe vera that then we've got 4 or 5 of them, and they continue having their little offspring, and we don't like to throw them away, and we can't have 1,400 of them. So it's something that we give away all the time. So it is a lovely little gift idea. Yeah. And it's so nice to have the plants around. We have quite a few plants in the house. And in the winter, of course, we bring things in that were outside during the summer. And so then they come in, and so we get the benefit of more fresh air and cleaning properties.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that idea. And Grace made a good point. She's going to check about Hershey Kisses. I'm not sure about Hershey's, about I'm trying to find it, but there is a website where you can search, and it's kind of like a report card on companies on how they do like environmental sustainability and child labor laws. And I can't remember what it's called, but I'll see if I can find it. And I really like Blanca's idea about her and her spouse don't give each other gifts anymore. They give experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we mentioned, getting outdoors. There's all these fabulous places to go, and the cost is not very great either, So, and you can rent these books from the library. You don't even have to buy a book. Just rent the books from the library to learn about, crafts and do it yourself things about plants. Even do a little quiz, set up quizzes and have fun. Let's see, instead of just those trivia games where everybody memorizes the answer, actually create new quizzes, new trivia, and see if anyone actually studied about plants or gardening or green Valentine options, going to the Audubon Center, walking the trails. And I'm so glad you mentioned that about the trail system. The Audubon Center is 120 acres. It's a beautiful place. It's a great story. Has a sad beginning story, because the city actually was federally mandated to close down an illegal construction landfill that somebody was operating, and tires caught fire and burned for 6 months. And then the neighborhoods around there just became furious, and rightfully so. And that was the genesis of the Audubon Center, which is now such a beautiful restorative place. The city went in and cleaned everything up. And the architect of that building is Antoine Predock, and he's a gold medal award winning, just like Frank Lloyd Wright. He's of that caliber, an architect that came in and designed the building that's there. And he was actually inspired because he saw it before the land was really cleaned up. And for example, if you go visit, and we encourage you to, if you haven't before, but there's a big pond out on the back side of the Audubon Center, and that pond was 16 feet filled over with bricks and glass and rebar and just all kinds of shingles, all kinds of construction debris. And it was everywhere. But as the story I heard was, and it's probably an urban legend, but it's a good one. As the architect was out there looking at the site to kind of, see how it's positioned there near the river, because it's only about, I'd say, maybe 750 feet from the river. Because when the river sometimes overflows the banks, when we have serious flooding, it can come up near to the building. So it's very close to the river. So he went out to look at all this, and the wildflowers were blooming among the construction debris. There was still all these native plant species blooming and thriving. And he was so inspired by that. And there was still, the wildlife. And so if you look at an aerial view of the building, it looks like a bird in flight. And that's why it's a more organic looking building. And then he designed it with recycled cedar, and there's all kinds of elements. It's actually a LEED Gold building. It's one of the only LEED Gold buildings within the city of Dallas. So he was very inspired by what he saw. So that's what I heard. It might be urban legend, but it's a great story.
No, I hadn't heard that story. That's awesome. And you mentioned like quizzes and online thing. I'm putting in the link. We actually have some online kind of like virtual puzzle rooms that we created at the during the start of the pandemic. So if you want to check those out, we actually got a comment on our Atlantis puzzle room that it was a great COVID date for them to solve that together. So, yeah, there's tons of things. Like if you don't want to get out, there's tons of things you can find online to do together. And then gardening together. My parents, they loved working in the garden together. So that's a really great, kind of practical and romantic thing to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. So absolutely, make your fun garden checklist.
And now's a great time to get everything started on those too. Like getting your soil prepped, you can actually plant. Now that the freeze, if we don't get another hard freeze, you can actually plant potatoes right now. You can plant like your broccoli starts and all kinds of things. So make it a romantic trip to the nursery, pick up your plant starts. And you can get started on those, growing those. Gosh, were there any more questions or comments? Let me check here. While we're waiting for those to come in, I just wanted to mention our program next week will actually be on Valentine's Day. So if you need a Valentine's lunch break, you can come visit us, and let me drop the link in for that. So we're actually having Coy Portier from the Deloche Urban Agricultural Centers to come and talk about what they do, how they're teaching kids to grow food, how they're helping with food insecurity in their neighborhood. So it'll be really educational and inspiring what they've been able to do. And put the link in the chat for that. So be sure, if you have some time on your lunch break next Monday, come and learn a little bit about that.
Yeah, please do join us again.
Yeah,
we're here every Monday at noon. Thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully you're inspired to add something green to your Valentine.
Yes. All right, we got some thank yous in the chat. Thank y'all for joining us. Yeah, and just a quick thing while we're getting some thank yous here. So you mentioned vases, and you Nedra mentioned thrift stores for clothes, but thrift stores are actually a really awesome place to get some really cool looking vases too, if you need those to give your flowers. And I found some really cool flower pots there before too, because those can get a little bit pricey for the nicer ones, but if you go to the thrift store, you can sometimes find some really nice ones for your gifts.
All right. Well, we actually have so many now that we try to do our own flower arranging. Yeah. And just reuse those vases. And some of them, of course, are very nice vases. And so it's just beautiful to have them, come out, and you can use them for different times of the year. It's real easy to just put a touch of something that changes the flavor of it.
But I hear your puppy Valentine in the
I
background
hear she's saying hello to everybody. She doesn't want to be left out. She's looking for her green Valentine.
That's right. Take your dog to the park for Valentine's Day for
That's
them. Don't leave them
exactly
out.
right.
Yeah, don't leave the puppers out.
Or teach her not to bark during presentations.
Oh, no. One of my favorite things, I think, one of the positives to come out of all of this COVID stuff is getting to see everyone's dogs and cats during Zoom and Teams meeting.
I will say that she's from Dallas Animal Services. That
Aw.
yes, I got her in 2019. She was 7 years old already. She's a German Shepherd. She's fabulous. Whoever had her, it must have been a tragic situation because she's so beautifully trained, such a wonderful dog, except when she's barking during presentations, wants to be heard, say hello. But so I was inspired through messages that came from Dallas Animal Services to go actually foster. And then, we fell in love with her. And
Yes, I think there's been
now
many a
she's
foster
a
fail.
family member.
Yes, they're it's a wonderful place to get a dog. So yes, definitely if you can don't maybe have time for a dog year round, just go foster them for a little while,
Yes, walk them, foster. If if you can do that, I did that. And like I said, then I ended up with one. So
Yes, that'd be a great day idea too. Go walk some shelter dogs
that's an
together.
experience that you could have. Yeah, go walk the puppy dogs. And they have such a big selection. I mean, because and right now with the cold temperatures, they are very crowded. So if you know anybody, or if you're thinking about it, this is a good time to go take a look because they're going to have probably all ages and types.
Yes, yeah, Nedra made a good point. Yeah, because Valentine's is all about celebrating love and all kinds of love, right? So family, partners,
Yes,
and our pets too.
your pets, the garden, the trees.
Yes,
Go
and
hug
the
a
earth.
tree.
Yeah, definitely love the earth too.
Yes.
All right, well, everyone, enjoy the rest of this day. I think it's supposed to be beautiful tomorrow too. So, and I think this weekend we're gonna have a nice weekend. If you need to get out and work on your garden some.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.